Hey everyone, welcome back. It is Icon here. Thank you so much for checking out another episode of Esports Analysis. Today, the team scrims continue. This one's a little bit different. We have not actually seen, at least on this channel, we have not seen the Faze Academy team, and that is who Chicago is playing today. I will tell you that over the course of these 5 hardpoint maps, Chicago went 2-3. The ones that they won were like in the 250 to 230 range. The ones that they lost, they got spanked pretty bad. So with that, let's go ahead. Let's get into the analysis. As we start off here, we're halfway through P1, and you can see that Chicago does have control of P1, and they are consistently failing at trying to push out P2. So if you're in this predicament, normally what you would want to do is try to get as much time as you can inside of P1, because if you're getting time inside of P1 and you don't have spawns for P2, then really what you're doing is you're lessening the effect of not having P2. So that now that when it goes back to P2, if they were to have like a 30 or 40 point lead, then now all of a sudden you don't really have to worry. It's not quite as grim if you're not able to push out P2. However, if it's a tie ball game and all 50 of these points go to Faze Academy, which is normally what happens, right? P2 and P5 are the real breadwinners here on this map. So especially P2. P5's a little bit easier to break just because you can go heaven and really start to muddy things up a little bit if you get up heaven. But on P2, even if you're getting like to where that person was right there, I couldn't exactly tell who that was. Was that Gunless that was all the way pushed up, or was it, I think it might have been Arcides. But if you were pushed up to where Arcides was right there, even if you get a little bit further and you get a 3-piece, they're still going to spawn in that back corner. So remember, when this hill started, we said that they're probably going to max this out. There's now 13 seconds left in the current hardpoint, and you can see that they've gotten all of them. So as this is about to rotate from P2 to P3, Faze Academy is about to have a little bit more than a 50-point lead. Now, as this rotates from P2 to P3, let's go ahead. Let's draw the routes on the minimap that's right above my head, right underneath SCUMP's head, so you guys can see exactly what's going on. But as Faze Academy had P2 over here on the right-hand side of the map, if they're spawning in this back right corner, as this is about to rotate from P2 to P3, what you'll see a lot of teams do is rather than push out mid and try to go directly for P3 or try to push out mid this way and go through forklift and try to go towards P3, what a lot of teams will do is they'll leave this spawn back here in the corner. They'll go through P1 through top L and bottom L, and then essentially what they're trying to do is push out back yellow. If you can push out back yellow and get these spawns, now you have spawns set up for not only P3, right? P3 is pretty contested, as well as P4. P4 is also pretty contested, but when it finally gets back to P5, now if you can stack all the time that you've gotten on P2 and you can stack all the time that you get on P5 just from having those 2 hard points, that could easily be 120 points worth of your score in hardpoint if you're just able to hold those 2 points. So like if you look at the score right now, Faze Academy is just getting kind of some scrap time inside of P3, right? Well, they just added like 10 points to their score. So if you're able to get 60 from P2 and 60 from P5 and you're able to get, 10 from P3 and 10 from P4, now you've got a 140 to 90 lead at the end of the first set of rotations. So a lot of this map is based upon being able to stack P2 and then rotate through and flip spawns for when it rotates back to P5. So if you're just kind of watching the mini map in the top left-hand corner, you can see that Chicago is basically spawning right around P4. They have control of P4 right now, but they didn't have spawns for P5. We'll see where SCUMP comes up. We'll see if they were able to push it out. It does look like Arcides right there was able to push through, so when SCUMP comes up, he did spawn back yellow. So they've gotten spawns. Now, what you're going to see a lot over and over again is that not too many people continue to push out that right side. And I'm glad to see that they're doing it, but man, they are getting slayed out. That was like the kill feed was all red right there for Atlanta. So interesting to see this happen, but at least they're still getting this spawn, right? They're not getting any of this time that's inside of P4. The worst thing that could happen is to not get this time inside of P4 and give up those back right spawns. If that compounds each other and you give up both of those, now you're really going to be in trouble. But if you're Faze Academy team, this isn't really hurting you all that much, right? Because even if Chicago is able to get all 60 points inside of P5 back here in the back, ooh, that was a bad loss there from SCUMP. But even if Chicago gets all of these points, they're still going to be up by 50 points as it rotates back through to the second set of rotations. And just like that, literally what we just said you don't want to have happened. If they were just able to hold down those spawns, and I know they were up close gun battles, but like that one that Seth lost on Gravity up top, that was unacceptable, right? That's a terrible loss. So with this, if they gave up spawns and they're going to give up all of these points, it's probably not going to look too good for them. Whereas if they would have been able to hold those spawns and then get all those 60 points, it would have been like a 140 to 100 ball game at the end of the first set of rotations. And now all of a sudden, if you can just hold your own on P1 and you're the team that gets P2 on the second set of rotations, now you're pretty set up and you're probably going to end up bringing it back and being in contention to win this game. Instead of right now, they're down by a lot. I mean, this is just an absolute beatdown. And you can see when they pushed out the right-hand side of the map over there, now they got spawns for P2. Let me draw that on the mini-map as well, just so you can kind of see what's happening. But when Atlanta Faze had P5, they were spawning back here. As this was about to go, their SMGs left P5, went over here towards bottom green, over towards forklift, and from here, once they got kills, SCUMP went down right around forklift, and they got kills in these areas. As soon as they got these kills and were able to push out P2, now as this is going to rotate to the second set of rotations, now Chicago lost spawns for the second set of rotations also. This is basically the #1 example for how not to play Hardpoint on this map. I mean, this is as bad as it gets, right? They weren't able to get time in P1. They weren't able to get spawns for P2 on the first set of rotations. As it went from P3 to P4, a lot of the time inside those two hardpoints still went to Atlanta Academy team. And then as it went to P5, they got spawned out. So essentially every single thing that could go wrong did go wrong. But the one thing I like about scrims is that we can listen into the voice and hear exactly what they're talking about. I'm not really sure what happened with the recording right there. It kind of just reset. But best thing about scrims is that we can go ahead and we can listen in. So let's listen in and hear how their team comms are, even though they're kind of getting beat down here.
I got stuck. Tires.
Top weak, Venom. They're spawning there. They're spawning
Venom,
there, guys.
yeah, they're still spawning there.
Venom's there.
Spawn green.
Have you up with time?
One more door, one's fire. One top
One
scaff,
their door.
top scaff. I'm putting up cap.
Up scaff, not peeking at their door.
Yeah. And kill scaff.
They're middle.
Door again, Journey.
I got two. Yo, tires. He's milk.
Milk right now? Milk shot me.
That's a nice 2-piece from SCUMP, but again, the spawns are so sticky on that second hard point that even though we got a 2-piece, when those two that he killed came up, they came up right over there on tires, so it didn't really help their cause at all.
Tires dead.
Yeah, well,
And one's milk.
I need inside P1.
I'm pushing green side right now.
Yeah, spawning green.
It was not
Yeah,
he's top cat and milk.
Some stacks.
Cop.
Yeah, cop.
Venom's already through P5. No, he's right there. He's right there, P1.
Jimmy in the back, one shot.
45 seconds. Try to hold. We have to push.
Stacks on you dead.
Just challenge pills.
Job.
Gravity on top.
Have your up.
Tires. One shot tires, absolute.
Tires dead. Got him. We're gonna be right here. Right here.
I can help you with
Top stairs.
And yeah, with about 8 seconds left in this, I mean, you can see exactly what's going to happen here. I do want to see what the final scores are like, and that's why going into the last weekend, I wasn't overly confident with Chicago when it went to CDL Dallas. Now, their homestand is next. I know it's online. It's a week and a half from now, so hopefully they get this figured out. But when I've been watching these scrims, whether it's Singularity or the Faze Academy team or Team Triumph, a lot of these AM teams have been going like this. They've been, I don't know, they haven't been having the most success. SCUMP was 14-24. Formal was -1. Arcides was -6. Gunless was 13-24. And Envoy was 18-20 something. We can't quite see what it is, but Journey 33-16. He was double positive. Venom 30-15. He was also double positive. I mean, that's a rough run. That's a rough one for the boys from Chicago. But hey, it happens sometimes, right? Could have been a little bit of host. Could have just been a bad day. Who knows? It's really odd to see everybody from Chicago play that bad. Hopefully they can get it figured out in the next week and a half or so, because again, CDL Chicago is coming up, and I know it's not a home stand, it won't be a LAN event or anything like that, but you still want to see them have success just because it's their event. Kind of just like how you saw Dallas have at least a little bit of success. I know that they ended up losing 3-1 to Minnesota in their final, but that's a story for another day. So if you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I put out brand new videos for like this every single day. If you have any comments whatsoever about what you just watched, also make sure you put that down below. Make sure you leave a like before you head on your way. Thank you guys so much for the support recently. I super appreciate it. And with that, I will see you in tomorrow's upload.